I'd like to give a big shout out to the Hoodoo Gurus, who have given us permission to use part of their song, That's My Team, as our new podcast episode intro for all of their music. And whenever they are going live or performing live, head to their Facebook and their Instagram. The links will be in the description below. Be sure to give them a like and a follow as well on Facebook and Instagram. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Final Tackle podcast, and we're joined by an AFLW rising star, you could say. She plays for the Collingwood Magpies, who are my beloved team that I follow in the AFL and AFLW. She's a force to reckon with in the forward and the ruck. Her name is Fowler. Thank you very much for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
No dramas at all. So let's get stuck into it. What was your debut like playing in the AFLW?
It was probably, it was actually so surreal. Something that I didn't think was actually going to happen that year. And I don't think I've ever been so nervous for something in my entire life. You go through like every single bit of emotion, from slept on the bus on the whole way down from the club down to Geelong and woke up just zonked. And I was like, oh no, I can't play a game. Like, what's going to happen? And got off the bus and like you get that adrenaline rush. And I reckon I'd played a game before we'd even warmed up. That's how like fast my heart rate was going, and I was just like couldn't stay still, and it was just one of those just like and then it just goes like a blur. Like the whole game, once it was over, I was like,
you're like, oh wow,
that happened
it's
so
over
quickly. Yeah.
No, that's fair enough. Continue, sorry.
Like I remember being in the change rooms and Shani Layton and I had no idea what to do. Like everyone was like relaxed, chilling out. We're like just so amped up with all this energy and just started like singing and dancing to The Greatest Showman because we didn't know what else to do.
We're
like, it's like an hour till like centre bounce. We're just like, what do we do? Like, everyone's sitting, but we don't want to sit. I was just like, oh gosh.
Wow.
But no, it was probably one of the most memorable experiences I've had to date, I think.
Nah, that's fair enough. I thought you were going to go with when you got there, you're in the sheds, and then next thing you remember, you're back in the sheds at the end of the game.
Yeah, it's like, oh, have we played yet? What?
Yeah, like, huh? No, that's fair. So you also dabbled in rugby sevens and rugby in general for the University of Queensland. First of all, what was that like? And second of all, what made you decide to make the switch to AFL from rugby?
Yeah, good question. I grew up playing rugby union. So I started playing, when I was like 6 years old.
Oh, wow.
Up until, it was just like, my brother did it and my friends at school did it. So I was like, I want to do it.
Nice.
Dabbled a bit in netball for like one session, and Dad said that I hated it. And I was like,
you're not wrong.
Me. I didn't. I was like, I didn't really want to play netball. I wanted to do what like my mates were doing. So like a little bit of a tomboy back in the day. So I played that up until about grade 5. The school and the Sunshine Coast Rugby Union at the time were like, due to certain reasons, you're not allowed, like puberty and whatnot, you're not allowed to play rugby anymore.
That sucks.
Being about 11 years old, I didn't quite understand why. But then I didn't really ask why either. So Mum was pretty quick in jumping on it and be like, no, go play soccer. So she got me involved in that. But then about 2 years later, I was in grade 7, and now the area started like an inter-school girls rugby competition in senior school. So jumped up and played that. But Mum wasn't overly happy about that. She I don't know, she just didn't really like me playing rugby for some reason. Too rough. And I was like,
I was gonna say maybe it was the soccer's less impact.
Yeah. But like, I don't know, I just fell in love with the game, and played that up until for grade 12 when that finished, and continued that through my adulthood. But like I didn't make my first ever state representative team till I was 2 years out of school, I think.
Oh wow.
It was like like I never really strived for that growing up, because I kind of knew that I'd never play rugby because I'm a girl.
Yep, I get you. Well, I mean, unfortunately, that's what the mentality that was put into women and girls back then. And now there's a Super Rugby league for women now, which is wonderful. Sorry, continue.
I know, but it's like, even like I think back to like me saying, like every time I say like I knew that I could never play for the Queensland Reds or play for the Wallabies, because that's what I always thought as a kid, and I look back at it now and I was like, I can't believe that I thought that was okay.
Yeah.
It was normal. And now I'm just like, no, that's so wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, especially given now that there is a Queensland Reds women's team and everything.
It's so good to see that.
Honestly, such a good thing to see the AFLW, the NRLW, even professional netball, such as the Collingwood netball team, the rugby, everything. It's so wonderful to see it all, like, happening. So, sorry, continue.
It's good, yeah. It's unbelievable to see everything. It's like every sport's obviously slowly blossoming and getting there, but just to be recognised as athletes now, I think it's like a huge step forward, and to have that recognition and support is like awesome.
Yeah, it really is.
Particularly for the young girls growing up, and to see it as a normal like pathway now.
I was going to say, yeah, and segueing into the next question, because that actually flows in perfectly with the support and whatnot. Yesterday, the AFL announced that they are fully behind and backing the AFLW for 2021. What was the feeling that you got when you heard about that yesterday?
Oh, awesome. Like, it's been obviously an uneasy like time of year or period for every sport and industry and whatever industry you're working in. So,
for sure.
Yeah, to have that come out and just have that sense of, I guess, something that you can look forward to.
Yeah.
As a
stability as well, yeah.
Goes the way it should. Just, yeah, it gives you that sense of like relief in a bit, to be like, okay, if one thing can hopefully go in the direction that we want it to, we've got that. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Excuse me. What are your thoughts on the AFL restart at the moment, and the possibility of there being a hub over in WA for the AFL? And what are your thoughts on if there could be a possible hub for the AFL women's if that becomes a thing?
It's a very good question. I think what the AFL is doing right now, they're doing it to the best of their ability, and the compliance from all the players and stuff's been to what the information that they've been given. And to get the game restarted, it's huge in itself, and the protocols and stuff that they have in place to have that happen, and whatever is going to occur, they have that all there for a reason. So to have it where it's at's a huge feat in itself. And you're going to cross hurdles and come across things, and it's just about what do you do and what action plans do you have in place when those do happen.
Yep.
But everyone's flying blind now. You never had a pandemic as such globally.
No, God,
so
no.
A lot of industries and healthcare and the world is just taking it in its stride. Like, we don't know what the next chapter is going to be or what's going to be around the corner. So you're just doing what you think is right for now, and we just have to ride the wave.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
not everyone's going to be happy, I don't think. But if we can all get there around and support each other, it's
And if you can get a majority of them on your side, sort of thing, then there will be, obviously, as you said, people who won't be too happy about it. But hopefully we can keep that number much less than the people that are fine with it and or happy with whatever is going on.
Absolutely. And I guess sometimes an outside opinion and not being in the industry is like invalid. So it's all in-house. So whatever decision that the AFL and all the clubs make, that's up to them. And being an avid supporter, I support whatever decision they make. So see what happens.
No, that's fair enough. And again, perfect segue into the next question. Who did you support in the AFL when you were growing up, if you did follow the AFL?
I was one of those typical Queenslanders that didn't like AFL.
Yep. I was going to say,
I was that. Yeah, that was just being brought up in a rugby state.
Oh, for sure.
Mind you, didn't really like rugby league either.
Okay.
No, not growing up. Grew up in a rugby union, was massive on the Sunshine Coast. So
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Grew up playing that, and as I got older, started to watch the league and a bit of AFL, but I haven't really started to get into much AFL until I started playing it.
Okay, and obviously because you're contracted with Collingwood, are you obliged to say you follow Collingwood, or would you say you follow a certain other team or other teams in the AFL?
No, I'm a huge Collingwood fan.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah, through and through now. Mum was from Melbourne.
Okay.
She didn't really tell me that they were Saints supporters back in the day.
Okay, 2010 grand final.
But she never told me. And so it wasn't until last year that she told me. She's like, your grandfather would be turning in his grave. I was just like, oh, well, here we are.
Yep. So, well, you're like, it's the chance I was given.
Yeah, no. But yeah, she pretty much grew up in Queensland anyway, so she's a bit of a union advocate as well. But no, definitely a Collingwood supporter through and through.
No, that's fair. And speaking of your time playing for Collingwood so far, which team would have to be the toughest that you've played against?
Oh, toughest.
That could be
Ooh,
physically.
physically, I'd probably say Carlton. I think
Okay.
they're very they're extremely physical, especially their midfielders. But yeah, definitely your North Melbourne. They're very good across the board. But probably the toughest game I think I've played was against the Melbourne Demons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they just play a very good brand and style of football. Yeah, definitely makes you think and run. So yeah, that'd probably be the hardest team I played.
No, that's fair enough. Um, Cody Jacques actually said as well the Carlton was the toughest physically team that she's played against. So
Yeah, they
that
just go hard at the ball, and you.
yeah, yeah, no,
Oh
that's
gosh.
fair.
Yeah.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be and why?
Superpower. I think I'd probably want to fly. I
Yeah,
reckon. Yeah.
no, that sounds pretty cool.
Easy to transport to places and
Well, I
get
mean,
to
yeah,
see everything from a bird's eye view is always good. So
for
yeah,
sure.
probably fly.
And speaking of your transport, that would also help with you going from between Brisbane to Melbourne every few weeks for your games.
Yeah.
How did you handle that? And are you still having to do that once the AFLW resumes this year?
So I did that in the very first, or the inaugural VFL season that Collingwood
Okay.
entered, so
Yep.
2018.
Yep.
Yeah, the club were so supportive in that, and just given like obviously I wasn't down here for any of the preseason
Yeah.
that the girls were part of or anything. So like I knew I had my work cut out for me to obviously stay physically fit and keep my skills up, given I wasn't actually
Yeah, doing the
training down
training
there
with
with
them.
them.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So it was difficult at times because when I was home, I was obviously still I was playing rugby at the time. So fly down for about 10 days, play 2 games, fly home for either 2 to 3 weeks, and then just like, yeah, work my bum off to pay to come down again. But I look back at it now, like I don't ever regret it. It's probably one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Oh wow.
And it's obviously gotten me the opportunities that I have today. So yeah, it was hard at the time, but it was definitely worth it, 100%. So yeah, but it all stemmed down to the support from the club, and the support I got from Collingwood was just unbelievable.
No, that's wonderful to hear. Excuse me, and we've got I think 2 or 3 more questions. I've covered your grassroots. So when you made the switch to AFL up in Queensland, you played for Yeronga, and
Yep.
you guys actually had a win in 2017 in the QWAFL, so Queensland Women's AFL against Core Peru. What was that like being part of a grand final winning team?
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever won a grand final in my life until then either.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
And they are very hard to come by. Very hard to come by. Some
Um,
people go their whole career without ever winning
Yeah,
one.
definitely. Yeah, it was definitely hard to come by, but no, we just had a really good group of girls. Like, got to play alongside the likes of like Emily Bates and Kate McCarthy,
Mm-hmm.
and Sabrina Frederick-Traub was playing with us at the time. I'm pretty sure. I can't remember. But yeah, got to play along with like some of the great AFLW players at the time. So yeah, to win that grand final was just it was so cool. But yeah, those girls definitely converted me to AFL. That's for sure.
Nice. And 2 more questions left. Who was your sporting idol? It can be rugby, it can be AFL, it can be anyone really that you looked up to growing up.
Growing up, I think my sporting idol was more like Susie O'Neill growing up
Okay.
was a big one. And then once I started to realise that Australia and rugby had a female team, was Emily Cherry, or
Okay.
still is actually Emily Cherry. She's an unbelievable person and athlete. But yeah, just the way she presents herself, the way she performs, her elite habits, she's just an amazing role model to have. And then yeah, in the University of Queensland University 7 series in our first season, we actually got to play alongside her.
Oh, wow.
And just the knowledge and expertise she bring both on and off the field was just really humbling to have been a part of that. So yeah, probably Emily Cherry still is to today my role model.
Wow. That's awesome. And last question is there any advice you'd like to give any young girls who are aspiring to make it in a women's professional league, whether that's the AFL, rugby union, netball, basketball, etc.?
Yeah, I think like the biggest thing I've learned along, I guess, my sporting journey is that, as I said to you, I've made my first state team in my second year out of school.
Mm-hmm.
So if you might not be the best, you might not be the tallest, you might not have any attributes that at that time people want. But like if you put your head down and get working and find out what people do want or what you think you can do better at or be different at, you might end up being rewarded for that. And it might not come the time you want it. It might come 2, 3, 4, 5 years later. But yeah, if you really want something, it's definitely worth pursuing.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and I think that goes for saying across the board. Thank you very much for joining us.
See ya, bye.